Russia lost 10 to 15, well, the Soviet Union lost 10 to 15,000 men in Afghanistan out of a much larger population base. Even the most conservative analysis right now is looking at about 50,000 men dead in Ukraine. This is between 3 and 5 times greater what the USSR lost in Afghanistan in 10 years, in 8 months. I can't see how a society can sustain that. There are people who will say, well, the Russians will never rise up. They're too zombified by propaganda. It's perhaps wishful thinking. I find that very hard to imagine. Yes, indeed. And it's not so much the dead who come home that are the problem. It's the people who are alive who come home that's the problem. The people who are alive and who come home and say, hey, we're not fighting Nazis in Ukraine. We're killing innocent women and children. Those are the ones who are the real problem. And yes, the message is going to have to reach home soon. Because if a civilian population is fed up with the war, they will put pressure on their presidents to stop the war. Ukraine's a democracy. Putin knows that Ukraine's a democracy. Putin knows that Ukraine's greatest strength is its resilience and the resilience of its population who are prepared to put up with threats of nuclear war to defend their freedom. That is a weapon that is basically, it's the super weapon that cannot be conquered, that would probably not even be conquered if a tactical nuke was used. It would probably only make their resolve even stronger. And that is what he knows. He doesn't seem to understand the last little bit of the argument. He doesn't seem to understand the resilience of the Ukrainian population. And no matter how cold they are, no matter how many people die, they will continue to fight. Putin is personally invested in this war. His own person would be humiliated. Even if he's replaced by a real hardliner, again, my analysis is that a real hardliner would have an easier time finding some kind of solution to Ukraine without personally losing face. We can either allow a nuclear bully to get his way and live with insecurity for decades to come, or we can make sure that Putin is not victorious in Ukraine and somehow try to rebuild something better on a much sounder basis.